Please stand and join Reverend Octavius Tooks in prayer, followed by the pledge. Thank you.
Let us pray. Almighty God and Father and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, we come now by the power of the Holy Spirit. Father, acknowledging thou art God. Lord, we thank you for this governing body of the school district. We thank you for those who are present from the community to lend their concerns and their input into the decision-making authority of the school board. Father, we pray now your wisdom upon this governing body, that their eyes may be open, their ears may hear, and that their hearts may be attentive. That their hearts also may be submitted to you, Lord, to follow the vision that you cast for this school district and this community. May we seek, oh Father, the equality of education for all students. May we be moved, oh Father, to rise above mediocrity to that of your calling on us. Move on us. Breathe and strengthen us, that we may be united as one, that we may move forward for the betterment of this community. We thank you for this governing body, and we thank you for this great community. For we look to you, and we give you all the glory, the honor, and the praise. For it's in the name of Jesus that we pray. And the people say amen.
Amen.
Amen. And amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Monday, May 6, 2019 School Board Workshop / special session. We have some amendments to the agenda. First of all, I'll be polling 2.1, permission to advertise changes to policy 1060, incapacity of elected superintendent. This was approved on May 1st, and it will be advertised. We also have a contract with Clara Floyd. We'll place that on 3.3 under items for individual consideration. We have a superintendent's salary that'll be placed under items of individual consideration, 3.11. We'll have purchase orders procedure. This will be placed under items for individual consideration, 3.12. Public comment? No public comment tonight, okay? Items for individual consideration, 3.1, field trips. Mrs. Joseph?
Okay, what we have presented to you is a field trip from Madison County Central School with the gifted students. They're going on May 10th to Tallahassee. And this is being paid for out of the C grant.
Is there a motion to approve the field trip?
I make the motion to approve the field trip.
We have a motion by Mr. Alfred, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Bell to approve the field trips as recommended by Mrs. Joseph. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? 5-0, Becky. 3.2, proposed, well, no, we pulled that one. 3.3, proposed amendment contract with Clara Floyd. Ms. Joseph?
Okay, this is a contract that we have, we're presenting with Clara Floyd. Clara Floyd was a former employee, now she's a part-time employee with us, and she is going to be assisting Andy Barnes in the finance department. He's part-time, but he would need a lot of paperwork and different things. The contract reads that her duties will be financial department, operating and reporting, budget development and trim, records training with current staff, training of staff in year-end processes, audit support, and other items mutually agreed upon with the superintendent and the board. And we're asking for her to be basically full-time, so we will have a hands-on person on site to assist Andy Barnes because Andy is part-time.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
And one thing, it is a that it's technically a contract position, it's not an employee position. So,
Okay, just
that
contract.
just needs to be-
And it's a temporary position, it's for the length of Andy Barnes' contract.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve a contract with Ms. Claire Floyd?
I make the motion to approve the contract with Ms. Floyd.
We have a motion from Mr. Alvord, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Daniels. By a show of hand, oh, wait a minute, excuse me. Any discussion or questions?
If I can say one more thing, the contract that's presently on board docs was just changed a little while ago, and it provides, the other one mistakenly said May 1 through September 25. This one says May 7 through September 25, which is tomorrow. The other one, and this one added a sentence that said that, provided that the contract, Floyd would not exceed 40 hours per week without the superintendent's prior approval, so it puts that limitation in there. But that's the only difference from the
Thank
one
you.
that had been there previously.
Any questions or discussion? By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0. Boys and Girls Club, Greenville Elementary School, Ms. Joseph.
Okay, we are doing a Boys and Girls Club, agreement with Boys and Girls Club for the summer at Greenville Elementary. At this time, B.N. Killsworth will explain this contract.
Mr. Killingsworth.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The short version of the program is that it'll run from June 10th, June 27th, and July 8th through July 25th, from 7:30 to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday, kids will be 8 to 6. The district will not have any responsibility for transportation or food or anything of that nature. They will also clean up after themselves. We will limit areas as to what is needed based on the needs and the numbers of the kids. And also there's a monetary amount that they're putting back into the program to offset some of your utility bills and things of that nature, which you haven't had in the past. So that is the short version of what the contract is. The bulk of it remains the same from last year. And what we're asking is, if this is good with y'all, then we will go forth with it.
Any questions for Mr. Killingsworth?
The one question I have is, do you think that the $500 is enough for electricity?
If they have a limited space, yes. Now, you know, of course, we'll be in part of the school cleaning, doing that during the year, but if we use limited space, then it's probably fairly close.
I mean, if the gym is used the whole summer, then I don't know. That
No,
it
sir,
will-
we didn't. We've already talked. The gym was not part of the program.
Any other
Which
questions?
I spoke with Ms. Joseph as well on that matter.
Do we have a motion to approve the Boys and Girls Club having a summer school program at Greenville Elementary School?
I make the motion to approve the Boys and Girls Club at Greenville Elementary School for the summer.
We have a motion by Mr. Alford, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Bell to approve the Boys and Girls Club at Greenville Elementary School summer school program. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
3.5, additional summer school teachers. Ms. Joseph?
Okay, we are geared up for summer school program, and we are cognizant of the cost of summer school. But Ms. Roderick and Mrs. Stallnick are requesting additional teachers, and at this time, Mrs. Stallnick will entertain any questions you have about that.
Madam Chairman, back when we approved summer school, we quickly realized we didn't have enough migrant staff. We're also short one third grade staff. So we'd like to add 4 teachers, and that would come out of Title I Part C grant with an estimated cost of $19,600.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Stallnaker? All right, do we have a motion to approve additional summer school teachers?
I made the motion to,
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Bell, second.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Daniels to approve additional summer school teachers. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0. 3.6, NEFAC endorsement programs, Mrs. Hill. This will be for information only. We'll approve this, or we'll put it on the May 20th ballot
Right.
agenda.
Each year, when we were with PAEC, we used their master in-service plan. We switched over to NEFAC last year, and we used their master in-service plan because we get a lot of our professional development through them. They have rewritten some of their endorsement programs. One is the pre-K ESE endorsement, and the other is the ESOL endorsement. And so we have to get it approved saying that we accept those changes and submit that to the state. So on the agenda for the 20th, I'll need for you to approve those, but I put the information there on board docs for you. They're just minor changes that they had to make to make sure that they comply with the new regulations.
Is this for someone that's just beginning the ESOL training?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it's got to be just for the beginners.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions for Mrs. Hill? Thank you, Mrs. Hill.
Welcome.
3.7, staff trips for summer trainings. Mrs. Joseph?
Okay, since Ms. Hill is standing up, I'll let her explain that, and she'll explain the funding source also.
Okay. There are 3 summer trainings for administrators that I included there for you. One is to the NEFAC Summer Administrator Conference. One is to the Institute of Small and Rural Districts Administrator Conference. And then one is for the Summer Literacy Institute that is sponsored by the Department of Education. All of those, the Institute of Small and Rural Districts, actually, there's no charge for that, and they pay for the accommodations. So that one won't cost us anything. The NEFAC one is being paid for out of the District Leadership Grant, and the Literacy Institute, there's not a charge from DOE for registration, but for the accommodations, because that's in Orlando, that will be paid out of Title II.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill. Is there a motion to approve the staff trips for summer trainings?
I have a question concerning, or not a question, but maybe a comment. Concerning the Summer Literacy Institute, I personally think that we should have a representative from each school going, maybe a classroom teacher that could come back and help facilitate it in the schools, if that's possible.
The state lines out who's supposed to go, and it's supposed to be the person in charge of curriculum, the person in charge of ESE. There were certain individuals that they lined out had to go.
Well, okay. If we could just make sure that the staff is in service when we
Absolutely.
when you return, because I mean I know Ms. Gibson has asked for the past year and a half when people go on trips to come and present.
I think we'll have to encourage that.
And
Right.
I mean, the teachers in the classrooms are the ones in the front line, and a lot of the people going are district office people, and we just need to make sure that the teachers are trained with what's seen there,
Right.
because
Well,
they'll never know. I mean,
Right. I can tell you that this year, we had 95 sessions of training that we have conducted or will be conducting by the end of the summer. That's actually a lot. Some of those are trainings where we have sent someone to be a trainer. Some of those are, trainings where we had to send somebody. It's been one of the things that we're trying to do is get more people here in the district trained to be trainers. And that way it doesn't cost us as much as it would cost to send people all over the place. One example is, I just attended a training for the clinical educator. This year we had to send all of those people to Lake City or Lake Butler, and that's for our mentor teachers. We had to send them out of the district because we didn't have anybody here in the district trained to be able to do the new state-approved clinical educator training. So we will be conducting those trainings. I know that we've sent staff off to get trained for a lot of the mental health stuff so that we can offer that here in the district. And so one of the things that I will be presenting on also at the May the 20th meeting will be all the trainings that we've conducted this year, and you know, the focus of those trainings, because you know, there are basically 5 major areas that we had to focus on, and I would like for you guys to see how we focused on those areas and what trainings we have done. So I can promise you that when we come back, there will be training in our district. And we sent a group last year, and I couldn't go, and so we got permission for someone to go in my place. And but those people have come back to the district and done training. So, and I will be glad to share that with you at the May 20th meeting.
Any more questions for Mrs. Hill?
No, thank
And we
you.
appreciate what you're doing, Mrs. Hill.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to approve the staff trips for summer trainings?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the staff trip for summer trainings.
We have a motion by Mr. Daniels, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Bell, was it? Second by Ms. Bell?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any questions or discussion? By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0. Contract for adult education teacher, Ms. Joseph?
Okay, in your book, on your agenda, you see your contract for Michael Curtis as a teacher for the adult ed program. You know, we run the adult ed program. It is the standard rate that we normally pay. Mr. Stallnaker, do you have anything else to say about that?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairman, traditionally, we've had 2 adult ed teachers throughout the day and 2 at night. Mr. Curtis used to work with us with adult ed, but unfortunately had some health issues. He's been cleared. He's ready to come back to work.
Good.
Actually, we had to use him to sub today, so he's got his fingerprinting and all that stuff done because the other daytime teacher is out on behalf of the adult ed folks, Dr. Pettiford, as well as Ms. Roderick. We actually recommend that you approve this contract.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve the contract for the adult education teacher?
I'll make the motion to approve.
We have a
Second.
motion by Ms. Williamson,
Second.
second by Mr. Alford to approve the contract for adult education teacher. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Oppose? Becky, 5-0. North Florida Career Pathways Consortium, Ms. Joseph?
Okay, Mr. Stallnaker is a coordinator for the North Florida Career Pathways Consortium, so he will review that with us.
Madam Chairman, I put this packet together back when the previous coordinator for the North Florida Career Pathways Consortium resigned, because we anticipated that as being one of our cuts. Just to give the board a little bit of historical background information, the consortium is Hamilton, Lafayette, Jefferson, Suwannee, Taylor, and Madison County. Each of those 6 counties in the consortium was to pay part of that person's salary, which was 50%. Obviously, since the person worked for Madison, Madison paid the other 50% of the salary to do its own CTE stuff, CTE work or whatever duties were assigned. However, over the years, the amount that was contributed from the other districts to Madison County to pay that salary has dwindled and decreased. In the letter that I gave you, this is the current contracted amounts. Hamilton County's amount was $4207.30. Jefferson County was $4646.61. I do want to point out Jefferson County's contract is yet to be returned by Somerset. So therefore, we have no contract with them yet. Lafayette County's contract was $3927. Suwannee County had agreed for a contract of $1,000 a year. And Taylor County has agreed to $500 per year. Now, when you add those numbers together, that's a total of $14,281.56. The previous coordinator, just half of their salary was $32,980. So that left Madison County paying $18,698.44. To make it simple, if the district was to continue with the consortium and to continue to fill this position, I want to use a person on step 5. A person on step 5 with 5 years experience, their salary would be $57,950. Now, when you subtract the $14,281 listed in the paragraph above, that leaves the district paying $43,668, which is approximately 75% of that person's salary. I have a meeting with the consortium May 22nd. My suggestion and suggestion to the board, as well as Ms. Joseph, is that we not fill that position, which was our current stance thus far, and use that as a cost saving. And my suggestion is also that Madison County is no longer the fiscal agent. Now, Mr. Reeves had some questions about fiscal agent. We went back and looked at all of our records that we could find. We could not find one single document designating Madison County as a fiscal agent. However, each individual contract that the district signed off on and approved states this contract is between the district school board of Madison County, herein referred to as the fiscal agent, and Taylor County, Suwannee County, whatever the case may be. That's the only document that I could find. I called previous superintendent, Mrs. Miller. I also called a former superintendent from Suwannee County, Walter Boatwright, who was a coordinator at one time. And the only contracts that either one of those two individuals would be aware of are these individual annual contracts that we approve. You've seen them before, except for Ms. Bell, because I brought them forth before the board. My suggestion again is to no longer be the fiscal agent and no longer fill the position of the coordinator. However, I do highly encourage the district to continue to be part of the consortium and pay an assessed fee once the consortium comes up with an assessment.
Thank you, Mr. Stallmaker. Mr. Reeves?
So since it's an annual contract, so our ceasing to be fiscal agent would begin July 1?
Correct.
Yeah.
On July 1, right.
Unless there's some other arguments or discussions with the superintendents. Now, the letter, I've got it addressed to the consortium, but it actually goes to the superintendents because the superintendent doesn't necessarily always attend each of those consortium meetings.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stallmaker. Do we have any questions for Mr. Stallmaker? All right. Do we have a motion to discontinue being the fiscal agent for the North Florida Career Pathways Consortium, but continue to participate in all the activities involved with the consortium?
I have a question. Ms. Joseph, what's your recommendation?
I recommend that we go along with what he decided. We're losing money on how we're functioning now, and we just need to dissolve being the fiscal agent.
Okay, I make the
Thank you.
motion to, for us to no longer be the fiscal agent,
But continue with the,
but continue being in the consortium.
and this would actually take place July 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Alford, second.
Second.
We have Ms. Bell, Ms. Williamson. We have a second by Ms. Williamson to discontinue being the fiscal agent with the North Florida Career Pathways Consortium, but we will continue to participate in all the activities with the North Florida Career Pathways Consortium. Any question or discussion? By a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? Becky, 5-0. All right. 3.10, staffing allocation plan, Ms. Joseph.
Okay, on the staff and allocation plan, at this time, I know we have it in our packet, but I would not like to vote on it today because I'm new to this position, and I think I need time to go over it, and I need time to discuss it with you because this is gonna have a big impact on our funding, and we need to find out where our money is, what do we have, and so at this time, I would like to schedule with you a workshop on about this packet and make sure that we're, have some meetings of the mind before we bring it back to the table. But I need to look through this, and since my name on it, I wanted to make it mine.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
Ms. Gibson, you need a motion to pull this and schedule a workshop?
Yes, let's have a
Okay,
motion.
I will make a motion that we pull this item from the agenda and schedule a workshop for
Okay.
discussion of this.
We have a motion by Ms. Williamson to pull this item from the agenda, and we'll schedule a workshop. Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Alfred, by a show of hands. All in favor? Opposed?
Okay.
Becky, 5-0. When would you like to have the workshop?
Are you available for a workshop on Wednesday of next week?
That'd be the 15th, May 15th. May
I
15th,
am. What time?
Yes.
yes.
What's a
Everyone,
good
Ms.
time
Bell?
for you? I mean, we're coming into the season where we have graduation and a lot of things, and I really don't want to put it off that far. And I know some people want to go to church, but I would suggest 5 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon.
That'll be fine with me.
Fine.
Okay, in the
We have a
interim,
consensus.
Ms. Bishop will be calling each of you to schedule a one-on-one meeting with me to discuss what we come up with. I will talk with the directors. Okay?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I don't think y'all need me at that, if that's okay.
Okay,
No.
I don't think so. All right, 3.11, superintendent's salary. Excuse me. In regard to Ms. Joseph's salary, I say we need to increase her pay at the same level as the superintendent while she is serving as the interim superintendent.
I agree.
Any discussion? Do we have a motion?
I make the motion to increase Ms. Joseph's pay to the superintendent's salary.
Okay, second.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Alfred, second by Ms. Williamson to increase the superintendent's salary as it should be while she is interim. Just so you'll know, the salary is set by the state of Florida. I have a schedule right here. And superintendents in Madison County do make, let me just check now, I should have circled it. $101,920 per year. Mhm. All right,
We gotta carry we have a vote.
we get a vote, okay.
We haven't voted.
All right, by a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? Becky, 5-0. 3.12, purchase orders procedure. During the last couple of months, all the POs over $250 were sent to us on a Wednesday, and we had the chance to look it over, and by Friday, if you had a problem with it, you could contact Mr. Copeland. Knowing that Mr. Barnes is here and he has a lot of work to accomplish in a small amount of time, would we want to suspend this procedure for now?
I still think that we should do it to some degree. I mean, we need to know what's being paid out. I don't know, maybe we need to sit down with Mr. Barnes and see what's the best way that he could help facilitate this to where it's going to be easy on him and Ms. Floyd. But I think that as a board, we need to be kept abreast where we don't have any more gotcha moments where we're caught off guard by what's being paid. Not that anyone would do that,
Right,
but again, we're not doing our job if we're not
Keep an eye on things.
we're not keeping up on it. And we just need to, I guess, sit down with Mr. Barnes and have a conversation to see what would work best for him in getting it to us.
Right, we could do that one-on-one with Mr.
Right.
Barnes. All right,
As a suggestion, you could ask him to come back with a recommendation on your May
Okay.
20th meeting
okay.
as to what, because then he'd have a chance to start with the superintendent, they could figure out what works best for you.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, in the meantime, do we continue every Wednesday sending POs to the board members?
I mean, I don't know if he's able to do that. I mean, I guess we need to have that conversation with him to see if he's able to.
With time
Okay.
constraints and things like that.
I mean, with him up here this limited amount of time and with Miss Floyd, with us just approving her tonight, I don't know that you could,
Okay.
I mean,
But I will talk with him and report back to the board, what his suggestions in keeping you abreast. I
Right.
totally agree you need to be kept abreast.
I don't want to put any undue pressure on them, on any of the people back there, but I do feel that we as a board are entitled to that and need to know it in light of what we've gone through.
Okay, any other discussion? Do we have a motion to pull this from the agenda now?
And if like Mr. Reeves advised, if Mr. Barnes could come back with his plan of how it would best work for him.
I think that's fine, would be the best.
I think the issue though, you've got a couple of weeks between now and the 20th. And I think like you said, he's just now starting and all that. Maybe what you want to do is suspend that until the 20th. And then on the 20th, Mr. Barnes can give you a recommendation. Because the issue is, do you have people in that office that can actually put all this together now? That would be my recommendation, I think, if that's what the superintendent thinks.
So noted.
Is that your recommendation, Ms. Joseph?
I would like for you to suspend it for this week and next week
Okay.
until we talk, when we get a concrete plan from Mr. Barnes.
I make a motion to suspend it until the May the 20th meeting where we can have a recommendation from our chief financial officer, interim chief financial officer.
We have a motion by Mr. Alford to suspend this until and put it on the May 20th agenda, and Mr. Andrew will give us some suggestions. A second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williamson. Any discussion or questions? By a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? Becky, 5-0.
And we will still get the printouts of the checks that have been written. They'll just be after the fact. I mean, that we're going to still be able to see it, but it'll just be after it has been written. But I do understand with Mr. Barnes coming in that, I mean, he's here for a limited amount of time.
Right.
And I want him to be able to tell us what money we have and what we need to.
And so we want to give them the necessary
Right,
time to do
right.
that. Right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Alford. Agenda review of the May 20th, 2019 agenda. Ms. Joseph?
Okay, all of you should have a copy, or have access to a copy of the May 20th agenda. On the consent agenda, we have student-related service items from Laura Newman. A lot of these things are placeholders. We don't really have anything in there, but we have a standard agenda each month. Has that been a problem? Because some things we really don't have in items, but we like those placeholders on the agenda.
We haven't had a problem.
Okay. There's a minor addition, revision to the calendar. Ms. Hill, can you explain that minor for that?
When we decided on the calendar, we didn't realize until payroll started putting actual dates on their end, determining paychecks and all that kind of stuff, that we were 1 day short on the number of days that teachers have to work. And so we are adding the necessary day to the end of the school year so that there will be 3 post-planning days. And that'll give us the right amount.
Any questions for Mrs. Hill? Thank you, Mrs. Hill.
The next item on the agenda will be staff trips, but all of those are grant funded, or they're not coming from general fund. We've got 2 district staff that's attending the meeting and 1 teacher, and that's paid for the Power and Energy Grant. We do not have any student field trips during that time. The code of conduct, it's time to advertise that. Laura Newman and her team has been working on that. The only little concern about that is Excel has made some adjustments, and the status of Excel is still up in the air, but we decided to go in and put a dress code in there for Excel, and if we have to remove it, we can remove it, but it will have been advertised and in place if we need it. Okay, the next section talks about the agreement with the credit union, attorney.
The agreement with the credit union, I've prepared the draft of that, and sent it to the credit union. What I did was I was unsure as to what the, board was actually looking at with, or what the board actually desired. So I drafted it two ways. One way was the credit union, having the, 100% of that building. And the other way was if we retain, some offices in that building. So I've got it both ways there. If we retain some offices in that building, then we've got a drawing attached and we can say, okay, well, we have offices 1, 2, and 3, and they have offices 4, 5, and 6. So that's, is part of the, is posted right now the way we've, the way I've presented that.
My suggestion on that about the credit union, I want to table that to our June meeting, because I think we're gonna have a lot of discussion on whether we are gonna keep our employees in that building or not, or do we have space, but we've got other things that's more important. Everything is important, but, it's a little more in the hierarchy, and I think, I would suggest we table that until the June meeting.
That's fine.
That's good. That's fine.
Okay, dress, we done dress code? Our next thing is, the articulation and agreements with Mrs. Stallnick, can explain those.
Madam Chairman and the board, when I inherited the position and the duties for the consortium, there's some outstanding contracts and outstanding articulation agreements that had not been done or been completed yet. Unfortunately, I know it's at the end of the year, but I'm having to get stuff done. And referencing the Hamilton County contract, when the contract was sent to Hamilton County, it has to go through its approval process and is approved by their board, then it comes back to us. Normally, I try to have these in place when I was doing it at least mid to late fall, but unfortunately, we have to fix what we can and move forward from there. The other thing is the same way with articulation agreement for TCC. When you schedule or try to create an articulation agreement with a post-secondary university, you work with that college, and that college, you have to do this on their timeline. Even though it's approved now, it's for anybody that has graduated throughout or will graduate for 18-19 school year from Madison County.
So being the fiscal agent means that we do the contracts and we collect the money and all this?
Absolutely.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, our next thing on our agenda for the 20th will be the rites of passage discussion.
Right now, with the rite of passage, Madam Chairman and the board, they are operating both DJJ as well as the Excel school. The students at the Excel school are on the, yes, they're going to class at the Excel school, but for Central School students, they're on the Central School students grade list. For high school students, are on the high school grade list. Also, we have found that due to circumstances beyond our control, we feel that as the district staff, they're not getting the level of instruction that they need to be getting. So the proposal right now, we have a meeting on Friday with rite of passage to talk about this, and our proposal that we're looking at is to actually bring the Madison County Central School students back to the Central School and have a room designated for them in the 1100 building. Bring the high school students back to the high school and have a room designated for them. How that's a win-win for us, especially in the high school, we'll be able to rotate certified teachers into that classroom to work with those students who technically are Excel students. Same way to Central School. Again, there's more information that's going to follow that based off of our discussion on Friday. Right now, the proposal is to move forward and move those students back.
And what would happen with the rite of passage? That would be,
But rite of passage, the only part of their contract that they would have is with the DJJ facility, that's right now at Joanne Bridges Academy.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Stallnaker.
Okay, any other questions about that?
Just in our past history, the only way we can make this work financially is to move it back to the school, because if we try to do it ourselves, we're not going, I mean, bringing it back to the school is the only way where we're going to break even with it. In the past of having the alternative school, there were many years that we were so far in the hole with what it was costing us that Miss Joseph was the principal there one year, and I mean, as much as you tried, it was just hard to keep the numbers, the costs down, but bringing it back to the school would be able to do that, and we could get the FTE for the students, but again, we just need to make sure that we have the support staff there for these students, because these are students who require a lot of extra attention.
Thank you, Mr. Alfred. Mrs. Hill?
Just to give you some more background information, last school year, the Excel school, for the first time in a long, long time, received a school grade. Previously, they had not had enough students to qualify in any of the school grade sales, so they did not receive a grade. However, they did receive a grade last year because they had just enough students in the graduation percentage sale. And so because of that, they received a school grade of an F and went into turnaround status. When they went into turnaround status, Rite of Passage met with representatives from the district to determine on that turnaround plan what option they were going to choose. The option that was chosen was to close the school and then for Rite of Passage to work on, they were going to, it was my understanding, write a charter school, apply for a charter school grant and apply for a charter school application with the district. At the time, the deadline for us to receive charter school applications, we did not have one from them. And so we need to move forward, and we have been in a situation where we did not have the Excel school. Each school had their own opportunity center. It is more cost effective. However, you know, one of the things you're going to have to think about is, you know, by having an alternative school, we had kind of another step before students had to be expelled. Now we're not going to have that, and so it may mean that more students would have to be brought before the board for expulsion. We would hope not, but there is that possibility, and so we just need to look at it from all different angles. But we are going to meet with Rite of Passage on Friday to talk with them about the fact that the school is physically or is closed. Those students, their scores now go back to their home school, which is the high school and the central school. Those students are listed under the high school and the central school. Their classroom, their physical classroom is still at the Excel building, but those teachers are under our schools, and those are our students. And so they are no longer under Rite of Passage as their educational provider.
I want to thank Ms. Hill for telling us this, because, and I can't speak for the rest of the board, but this is the first night I've heard that bit of information. And as a board member, I'm sitting here shocked that we weren't told that we had a school in the district with an F that was in turnaround. And nothing on you because you're the messenger up here tonight, but did you know it, Ms. Gibson?
No, I did not know it. Mm-mm.
Did you
The
know
fir-
it, Mr. Daniels?
The first time I've heard it, but I
Ms. Bell,
appreciate
did
the
you know it?
information.
I did know it.
Did you know it, Ms. Williamson?
Did not.
I
Well-
just recently found out though.
Well, again, I mean, tonight with you saying this is the first time I've heard that we have a school with an F. I mean, in my opinion, we have no option but to bring them back to the schools to get out of the turnaround.
Evidently, they're not succeeding where they are, so.
I mean, I don't know that there's really a discussion with rite of passage other than they're going back to the school, in my opinion. I mean,
Well,
and
and there
again,
are-
I don't want to seem like I'm being to you, but again,
Right.
this is the first, we've heard of this tonight.
You know, as part of turnaround, those students who were at the school last year when that grade was earned, those students are required to have certified teachers.
Right.
And one of the things that, you know, we found was that the teachers there weren't certified in all the different areas. And now honestly, that's an impossible task because, you know, for so few students, you can only afford to have like maybe 2 teachers for 30 students. But 2 teachers are not going to be certified in all the different academics.
Right.
And so,
And again, we may have teachers that are out of field in areas, but for the most part, the majority of ours are in field, and we do provide explicit direct instruction in trying to bring up students with either iReady or other remediation
Right.
type
right,
activities that again, and again, I don't want you to think that I'm saying this
I
to you,
understand.
but this bit of information is the first I have heard this. And us out touting that we have no grade less than a C in the district, and we had an F and weren't even told. Again, it's not your fault.
I knew in the past they weren't able to get them a grade. I realized
I mean,
that.
I was
And
under
I
that
just assumed
assumption
this is what's
also.
happening,
Right.
you know.
well, and, I mean, no one knew they were going to get a grade
Okay.
until they got one. And so we tried to appeal, was my understanding, but we could not.
So you saying there was an attempt to appeal and everything as well? Appeal getting a grade?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because, you know, no one thought they would get a grade until school grades came out, and there it was, so.
Well, no one here on the board, and I can't speak for everyone, but I know myself and in the times past when we've had to have expulsion hearings, the past 2 years, really the past 3 to 4 years, we have not had the hearings that we used to have. And, you know, no one wants to do that, but at some point, I mean, that may be what we are forced back to. If children are given chances and they misbehave, we have no option.
Right.
But it's only been within the last few years that we do not have those types of hearings that we used to have. Ms. Williamson can speak to it. We used to have a lot of expulsion hearings. We didn't want to, but at some point, that's your only option.
Right.
But again, I thank you for that information tonight, and it makes it clear what we have to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill.
Thank you.
Okay, thank y'all for that information. Next thing that will be on our agenda will be the staffing table. Anything to say about that?
Not until we finish the staff allocation plan.
Okay,
Once we complete the staff allocation plan and review it, the staffing table, as well as, let me get back to my agenda. Come on. Personnel changes, employee recommendations for non-instructional and instructional, all of that will be finalized once we finish the staffing allocation plan.
Thank you, Mr. Stallmaker.
okay, and the next thing on the board, we will have our monthly financial statements, monthly reports. Okay. The public comments now.
Okay, I don't think we have any public comments, but, Mr. Reeves?
Did anybody sign?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
I don't think so. All right. Ms. Williamson? Ms. Bell?
I would like to say congratulations to Ms. Joseph as our superintendent at the present time. I would like to also tell Mr. Daniels congratulations on his graduation just recently.
Thank you.
Did Mr.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Alfred?
I'd like to welcome Ms. Joseph as interim superintendent. Ms. Joseph has been with the district for 37 years, and I remember back in probably around '06 when Ms. Miller brought her to the county office, and she's worked up here for many years and has done whatever has been needed of her in the district, and again, we're seeing that tonight, and I appreciate it, and thank you for all you do for the students here in the district. I would like to, Saturday evening, I went to the basketball banquet. The girls and boys, JV and varsity, had their banquet at the high school. It was really nice. I want to thank all the coaches with all their hard work that they've put into the season this year, the state championship. Again, a lot of hard work, a lot of dedicated adults working with them, and a lot of dedicated students in practicing and putting all they have into it. I also want to thank all our employees at this time of the year. This is sort of the end of the show, so to speak, and all of them have worked so hard. I want to thank our classroom teachers, again, that are in the classrooms day to day with the students. This is FSA week, one of the weeks, and so the teachers are really under a lot of stress, and the kids, and seeing that it all come to an end. But I do appreciate them, and I wish all the students good luck.
Mr. Daniels?
I also like to congratulate Ms. Joseph.
Thank you, sir.
And say welcome aboard. I think it's very important that we support our superintendent, and plan on supporting you. And we appreciate all that you have done so far. From what it looks like, you got up to a wonderful start, and so we wish you well. And also, I'd like to extend my gratitude for teachers, all teachers. Teacher Appreciation Week is this week, and so we extend our hand of gratitude and appreciation to all teachers.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate and thank Mrs. Joseph for stepping up to this position. We appreciate you doing this. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, and as a former teacher, a simple note to a teacher, your child's teacher, or even a teacher that you had is so much appreciated. I had the pleasure of attending the FFA banquet this past week. I'd like to commend one of our teachers, Ms. Kaylee Morris, a new teacher, the new ag teacher. They did a fabulous ceremony and a fine banquet. Thank you very much. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Before you adjourn, may I have a few closing statements?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, again, I would like to thank the board for having enough confidence in me and voting me in as your interim superintendent.
You're welcome.
And I would like to tell the public, I do have an iPad, but I didn't charge it, okay? They're not treating me as a stepchild, I just didn't charge it. I've got I come in this position, and y'all know it was the last minute, but if anybody knows me, you know I believe in doing what I'm supposed to do, and I've got several things planned at Greenville, and so I'm still trying to do some things at Greenville because I made the commitment that I would be there. I am getting some assistance from someone that's on staff that's not causing us any additional funds to assist me with Greenville because they're not stepchildren. We still need to treat them as our students, okay? I plan to visit all the schools this week, all 6 of them, because they need to know me even though they know me, okay? I'm gonna try to participate in as many end-of-the-year activities as possible, but I'm one person and I'm finding out I have a district staff and they will be there to assist me. Again, we appreciate hats off to all teachers. This is Teacher Appreciation Week, and this is also Nurses Day. All of our schools have a nurse, and we appreciate them. And thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Mr. Alfred, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Daniels. Meeting is adjourned.